the October the 12th Laurel City Council meeting at regular time. I called everyone to order, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Mo. Mayor?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If anyone wishes to be heard tonight, there's a sign-up sheet to my left, your right. You can sign up for whatever item you wish to speak on, and I can reserve the right to limit the amount of time. With that, we'll have the roll call. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Nicholas?
Here.
Mr. Les?
Here.
Ms. Crary?
Here.
President Ricks?
Here.
Mayor Mel?
Let me state for the record that Mr. Smalls called me earlier. He's stuck in Annapolis working on something for the governor. At this time, we'll defer the approval of the minutes of the 19th meeting of Mayor and City Council. We'll ask for the approval of the minutes of the work session of October the 5th. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Crary?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
President Ricks?
Yes. At this time, I'll ask for the report of the Mayor and City Council. Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. I'd like to send my condolences to Christy Mills and her family for the loss of her husband. And I'd also just like to talk just a few minutes about the Youth Services Commission. They are accepting grant applications up until October 31st. And I just encourage nonprofit and children program organizations to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Les.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Ms. Nicholas said, sincere condolences to Christy Mills and her children on the loss of her husband, Frank. Frank attended and supported many of the city's activities along with Christy and was good company for my wife, Mary Atlee. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the Patuxent River, the lower part of the Patuxent River. We're going to look at something that we don't pay a lot of attention to, we just see it happening, and that's the erosion that takes place from the bluffs on the Patuxent River into the Patuxent River. There tends to be very fine silt and with a lot of clay particles, and that gets down into the bay. So we've got an expert. We're going to be on a boat, and we're going to get a better understanding of how that impacts not only the Patuxent River, the aquatic life on the lower part of the Patuxent River, but also the bay. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Crary.
Thank you, Mr. President. On October 3rd, I attended the annual Plowman and Fisherman Dinner, formerly a breakfast, and we honored retiring Senator Barbara Mikulski and outgoing Congressman Donna Edwards. It was a wonderful event. We wish them well, both of them. Additionally, on October 6th, we attended the breakfast sponsored by the mayor with the area principals. And this past Sunday, we attended and we thank Reverend Sonia King for her invitation to St. Mark's Church. And I want to remind everybody that this Saturday is e-cycling and a shredding event at Public Works from 8 to 12, I believe. And additionally, I want to send my personal thoughts and prayers out to Christy Mills. And Frank was a special guy, and he'll be missed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'd like to also send my prayers to Christy and her family and the death of her husband, Frank. They were good friends for a long, long time, and it was really, really sad to hear that Frank has passed away. I'd like to also send out my regards to St. Mark's Church and Reverend King, Reverend Dr. King, for the offer for us to attend the services on Sunday, where she recognized the City Council for their efforts to bring the community together even stronger than we are now. I'd like to also thank Mr. Free for his efforts and his staff's efforts to make the city of Laurel even cleaner than it is now. We have a number of initiatives that are underway, and certainly his staff is helping us to achieve those goals, and we really appreciate their hard work. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things. Marlene Collins, who's a member of our Board of Appeals, wished to send condolences to her and her family on the passing of her father, Ellis Hall. As you've heard, Christy Mills, our longest-serving city administrator, husband passed away. Christy recently retired. We send her and her family and the family our best. Viewing will be tomorrow, October the 13th, from 7 to 9 at Donaldson's Funeral Home, and then on Friday, October the 14th at 11 a.m. at Donaldson's will be the funeral. Did have the opportunity to attend the Dwight D. Eisenhower Middle School Business Award Ceremony. I want to thank them for the opportunity to be with them and appreciate the invitation, as well as we did our first annual walk Laurel Day, which was an initiative for the governor's office, and we took part in that, and hopefully that'll grow as we continue to take part in that event, that annual event. Did have the Golden Shovel presentations to Mr. and Mrs. Nye on Concord Avenue, and to Randy and Jeannie Estasia on Montgomery Street. As you've heard, we did have our quarterly principals breakfast meeting. It was hosted by First Generation College Bound. I want to thank Joe Fisher and his staff for hosting that, as well as the really good turnout from the principals in the area. Did host the Mayoral Municipal League Hometown Emergency Preparedness and Ad Hoc Committee here at the City of Laurel. Joanne Barr is a member of that committee. I want to thank them and thank Marty and Lou Ann, Bill, and Steve, and all those that helped us host that event on last Saturday. The St. Mark's United Methodist Church had a special recognition for the mayor and city council for their assistance in Emancipation Day celebration and festival. And I want to thank Pastor King, and as you heard the president say, they recognized us as a city, and we're going to invite them up here to present that plaque as well. She'd like to do that. So the Laurel Regional Hospital Strategic Planning Work Group, the executive committee met last week on the 10th. We are getting ready and have appointed all the committee chairs of that, and then asking residents who still would like to take part on those committees to please let us know, as they will be up and running within the next couple of weeks, if not sooner. Did tonight have my time with the mayor, which was held at the Park and Recreational Maintenance Facility. I want to thank those residents that came out tonight and gave us some good information. And then on October the 13th is Meet the Artist event, featuring art by the students at Bond Mill Elementary School at the Olive on Main Street from 5:30 to 7:30. And then, as you've heard, on the 15th, this Saturday, Public Works' electronic recycling program from 9 a.m. until noon will be taking place. And you must be a city resident and have ID to drop that off as well. And Mr. President, allow me, I'll go ahead and make one mayoral appointment.
Sure, sir.
I'd like to recommend to the mayor and to the city council the following appointment to the Park and Recreation CAC, which is Raymond Roakes. Roke. For the term of October the 16th until October of the 8th of 2018.
Thank you, Mayor. May I have a motion for the appointment?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Ms. Prairie?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Ricks?
Yes.
That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'm going to open the general public hearing, and it is 7:09. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Mr. Greer, Ms. Greer, I see that you want to speak on item number 14. Do you want to wait until that item comes up, and then we'll bring you up? Is that okay? Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak on anything? Seeing none, I'll close the general public hearing at 7:10. We'll move on to item number 10. This is a consideration of a bid recommendation for the purchase of one marked police K-9 SUV and one unmarked police car. Mr. Free.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the Department of Public Works has put together a bid recommendation for, as you said, for a marked police K-9 SUV and one unmarked police car. Prior to putting this together, we found that Hertridge Fleet Services had the state of Maryland contract for the purchase of these type of vehicles. Funding for these vehicles is in the CIP, funded with speed camera proceeds. The cost of one unmarked Ford sedan is $28,932, and the Ford Explorer is $33,605. So it's recommended that the Mayor and City Council approve the purchase of these two vehicles for a total of $62,537.
Thank you, Mr. Free. We had this at our work session. I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I recommend that we approve this bid recommendation by Mr. Furry for the fleet acquisition.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Les. Madam Clerk?
Ms. Prairie,
Yes.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Rex?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Free. Item number 11, this is a reintroduction and public hearing on ordinance number 1869, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel amending the City Code, Chapter 9, Miscellaneous Provisions and Offences, Section 9-20, grocery carts. We've had this at our work session as well. I'll open the public hearing at 7:11. Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you'll recall at the work session, we had made you aware that you had received a clean copy of the ordinance without the changes. We've corrected that. The ordinance that you should have before you contains all the additions and deletions, and it also contains the proposed policy from the mayor's office.
Thank you, sir. So I've opened the public hearing at 7:11. It's now 7:12. Does anyone wish to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'll close it at 7:12. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
it's not scheduled for action tonight. We will hold a second public hearing on the
Okay, want to hold a
24th.
second one? Okay. So we'll pass this over until possible action on the October 24th date. Number 12 on the agenda. This is the introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1882, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, amending the code of the City of Laurel, Chapter 7, garbage, trash, weeds, etc. Article 2, refuge, collection, and disposal services, and by repealing and reenacting with amendments, Section 7-23, Supplemental Collections, Prohibited Materials, to clarify that the property owners are responsible for supplemental residential collection services provided to the property they own. I read this into the record for the first reading. I'll open the public hearing at 7:13. Mr. Free.
Yes, as you had said in there, there's a line that we've added to that section for unpaid fees from the renter that the property owner and/or the property management company would ultimately be responsible to pay the fees. As discussed at the work session, as they get permits, it will actually be written out on the permit that the owner and/or property management will be responsible for these fees.
Thank you. We discussed this at our work session, and I'll open the public hearing again at 7:14. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the topic? Seeing none, I'll close it at 7:14 and a half. This will be on our agenda on Monday, October the 24th for possible action. This is item number 13, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1883, an ordinance to establish the City of Laurel Economic Development Program and appropriate funds from the unassigned fund balance to finance the program and providing an effective date. I read this into the record for the first time. and I'll open the public hearing at 7:15. Mr. Brock.
Yes, Mr. President. The proposed ordinance before you is to extend to Route 1 Commercial Corridor, the Laurel Economic Development Program. The map on the screen shows that it goes from Patuxent River on the north down to Conti Road on the south. The following incentives will be available under the Economic Development Program. Reduce building permit fees for revitalization and new construction. Provide assistance through the permitting process. Work toward getting approvals necessary for business operations. Real property tax credits as provided for under County Code 16-6, revitalization and economic development tax credits. In business personal property tax credits, providing up to 5 years business personal property tax credit of up to 80% of the amount of tax otherwise due for newly qualified business personal property.
Thank you. Mayor Mo?
Mr. President, I apologize, but I would like, if the council would consider maybe taking action, suspending rules, taking action on this tonight. I think there's some things in here that we would like to try to promote for several vacant storefronts and others. So I'd ask you to take that under consideration.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is still open. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'll close it at this time. Council, I'd like to take a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. President, I'll move that we suspend the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Les. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Creary? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Crary?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Rex?
Yes. Now I'll take a motion to adopt.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 1883, an ordinance to establish City of Laurel Economic Development Program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Crary. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Crary?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Rex?
Yes.
Mayor Mo?
I'm going to concur. I just want to take the opportunity to thank the council for moving this forward. In particular, we had a lot of input from our council president as well as Mr. Les on this. So I want to thank you all, and we're hopeful this does some good for us, and we think it will. So thank you. I
Thank you,
concur.
sir. Item number 14, this is introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1884. An ordinance to amend section 17-76 of the Laurel City Code to designate all of Sandy Spring Road and Brooklyn Bridge Road from Patuxent Road to I-95 overpass as snow emergency routes. I read this into the record for the first time. I'll open the public hearing at 7:18, and Mr. Free.
Yes, as discussed, the city of Laurel has taken over these roads from Prince George's County, and I think to better clear the snow and everything, the way we do it, having these dedicated snow emergencies would make that a lot easier to, actually get the roads open and clear the snow.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Greer, you signed up. Would you come forward, please, sir, and give me your name and address for the record? Good evening.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to do this. My name is Steve Greer, and I live just up the street at 7210 Old Sandy Spring Road. And I just want to preface this by saying that I've been here 30 years on this street, and Public Works does an amazing job through some of the biggest snowstorms in my lifetime. Clearing those streets, they're clear while it's snowing, and they're clear immediately when it stops. It's very impressive. And I don't understand what the emergency route will be routing to. It's a dead-end street. Where you trying to go? And I don't see how they could do a better job than they absolutely do. I mean, no city I've ever visited gets the job done so quickly and so perfectly. And it may prevent any parking on the street, and there's only 2 sections of the street that have street parking, and they're all on the side, one side of the street that's heading to the dead end.
Maybe I can answer you the best way, and that is by designating an emergency route, you get first service before anybody else gets service.
I think we do.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I mean, because mainly, probably because you're right here on the same street as
We
as
service
me.
everyone. I just want to say.
Well, we
the-
do.
The emergency services route are for a reason, for, just as it states, an emergency. We try to clear those roads. The roads are pretty much already cleared. The problem was they were never designated because they were county streets. And now
realize
that
that.
we've taken over that responsibility, we have designated them as snow emergency routes. We understand the point that it goes nowhere. There's a dead end at one half. But again, it helps us clear the streets in large amounts of snow, and really just keeps certain through streets available for emergency services and others to be able to move. But Rob, you can jump in and
Yeah, that's basically what it is. As indicated, we have plowed that street because we've gone to Dorset Road, which was a dedicated snow emergency route, and that's why that street was always done. We never stopped, even though they were county-owned. We always plowed them. We're just trying to get it better dedicated so that way those streets can be cleared of snow all the way to the curb and gutters. Most of the time, going up and down those streets with cars parked, you're right, the street's open, but we weren't able to get them as wide as we would like to.
Well, there are no gutters.
as you as you go up there,
And I think it'll adversely affect residents who live down there that park on that street. I mean, some people have no off-street parking on that side, and because you will make it a no parking zone during a snow emergency.
On the even side, it would be no
just on
parking.
the even side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, take a look.
I'll take a
before
look
it's
at it.
First introduction. We'll take a look at it. And make sure it comes back to the council.
And I'd like to say I'm really happy that you took control of that road, since you're right here on this
Right.
road. And there's a couple of issues on the road, that I'm hoping that the city council will take care of. I mean, like, I'm not sure why the speed limit goes up when it heads to the dead end. I mean, it's 25 here, but once it gets to the kids' park up the street, it goes up to 30. And I'm sure that is just left over from when this was 198 and went all the way to Sandy Spring, Maryland. And I've seen historical pictures at the Laurel Library of the street, and there was 4 homes as far as you could see. And 30 makes sense, but I'm not sure if it still makes sense today, considering how close some of the new homes that are being built up there, or how close they are. I'm only like 20 feet from the street, my house. And I hope you guys consider some of that stuff, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. President, if I could. So you as a resident,
Turn your mic on, Mike.
I'm sorry. Since you as a resident and realizing that they've continued to build residential up at that end,
Yeah, it's crazy.
you would prefer 25 miles an hour,
Yes.
you personally? I just
Yeah.
asked.
Me personally, yeah.
Okay.
And on one of your older plans, I was here when you annexed all those little islands of property
Yeah.
into the city of Laurel, the map you showed a 3-way stop at Carriage
Yep.
Hill Drive.
Yep.
And I am the president of the Carriage Hill
Yeah.
Homeowners Association. And we like that idea because the sidewalk comes down and stops and then continues on the opposite side. And if you had a 3-way stop sign, you could put a crosswalk and you could just stay on sidewalk. Thank you, Bert.
Mr. President, I would only suggest that go ahead and put those in writing and send them to the mayor and city council.
I'd be happy
Because as the
to.
mayor said, we'll look at those things.
Thank you.
Anything we can do to improve safety, especially for our children.
I agree. I concur. Thank you again.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Just look at it and come back to us.
Yep, I'll take a look at the entire area.
Speed, you okay on?
I have no problem dropping the speed down to 25.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, is there anything else to come before the council tonight? If not, we stand adjourned. I couldn't remember.